This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome in, folks, to another edition of Open Mic Night. I'm your host, Noah Taluki, and on today's episode, it's very Lions heavy. A lot of Lions news post-NFL draft. One Lion in particular getting released, a little bit surprising on my end, and how will his position group look at this upcoming season, especially with him being released. Also, a big name in the NFL is back. Could he have helped the Lions? We're going to discuss that later on as well. Also, there's a man that wears the number 12 and wears a green uniform, and he's leaving, apparently, in a division rival for the Lions. How is his departure going to affect maybe the Lions' season and how the NFC North shapes? We'll have to see, but we will discuss that later on. But right now, hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Really chilly, and it actually snowed here in Cleveland, which was very, very surprising. And of course, I mentioned last week I did start my internship with the Lake County Captains, which is the single A affiliate for the Cleveland Indians, high A affiliate. So they are in the same league as some teams in Michigan, like the Great Lakes Loons, the Lansing Lugnuts, and of course the most important one, the West Michigan Whitecaps, because that's the team who is the affiliate of the Tigers, your Detroit Tigers. So I will be seeing Spencer Torkelson in a few weeks, and because part of this is we do pay attention to some of the other teams that are in the league. So every day, we give score updates during the game and all that. And, I'm the producer, so I'm the guy kind of behind the scenes doing the commercials and all that. But, so we have to do score updates on West Michigan and some of the other teams. And, so I have been following Spencer Torkelson a little bit, and he just seems to he's been struggling a little bit. And it's kind of scaring me a little bit. Now, I know it's the beginning of the season, but, I mean, you kind of expect a little bit more from the number one overall pick from 2020. But that'll be for another day in another podcast, that is for sure. But I did want to start with this Lions, and of course, Wednesday is when the schedule will be announced. We already know who the Lions are going to be playing. We know that they're going to be playing the Broncos Week 17. That came out a few weeks ago, but we do not know where all the other opponents would be stacked up. Something came out today, actually, that Matthew Stafford and the Rams are going to be on Sunday Night Football Week 1. The Lions are slated to play the Rams. Maybe. If the Lions played the Rams on Sunday Night Football to start the season, I would be ecstatic. That would be amazing. Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, and the Lions biting kneecaps off versus the old quarterback, the 12-year vet, Matthew Stafford, who ruled Detroit for 12 years. Ooh, that'd be a story. That would be a story. Al and Chris in L.A., because I think it's supposed to be in L.A. this year at the new SoFi Stadium. Ooh, it's getting me pumped up already. We're going to have to wait till Wednesday to see what happens there. But one Lions player in particular getting released, that's Kerryon Johnson. Last week we found out that he was released, and it's going to be interesting because I was a little surprised, not going to lie. But you have to remember, and let's do a little deep dive here on Kerryon for a minute. 2018, he was drafted out of the University of Auburn, had a very, very fine 2017 campaign his junior year, decided to forego his senior season of eligibility, and the Lions drafted him in the second round. And I think a lot of people out there thought, well, this could be, the guy that we've been waiting for at running back, a guy that could be an immediate contributor right away, a guy that can really, gain some yards on people. You know what? Sure enough, his rookie year, he impressed. Remember he had the 150-yard performance against Miami, in Miami? And there was a couple other, he ran for over 100 yards against the Patriots. And remember, the Lions had not seen a 100-yard running back since Reggie Bush in 2013. I believe that was on Thanksgiving against the Packers. 2013, we hadn't seen a 100-yard running back in a game. So I think Kerryon, he gave a lot of people a lot of hope. And, and then the Carolina game hit. And then he ripped up his knee a little bit. And then he was out for the year. And then a lot of people started, thinking, well, is he going to be healthy? Can he really withstand the load? Because that was a problem at Auburn. He did have some injury issues with that knee. And, I always believed in Kerryon. I always thought he could be a really good running back for the Lions. I'm not saying, Pro Bowl. I'm not saying any of that, but a decent running back that can really pick up yards. And you could see it. I mean, 2019 against San Diego, or LA, I should say, the Chargers. He was really good out of the backfield. He caught that touchdown that he juggled and then just took off and ran. I mean, those are the plays I'm going to remember Kerryon for. And then last season, 2020, his role just changed. It was just kind of sad because Kerryon was supposed to be the running back, of the future for the Lions, the guy that they were really going to rely on to get those yards. But then when the Lions picked DAndre Swift last season, I think Kerryon kind of took a back seat a little bit. This is a guy that was supposed to be that lead running back, but after the injuries, I think there was a lot of question marks. So the Lions decided to go in a new direction at running back. And I think it's very clear with the release of Kerryon that DAndre Swift is the guy. I mean, because before there was that debate of, is Kerryon and him going to split carries? Even Adrian Peterson was starting for a lot of the games, 35-year-old running back. I know he's one of the greatest in NFL history, but he was starting over Kerryon and DAndre. I think it's very clear now that DAndre is the number one running back. And, it was obvious Kerryon's role started to change last season as well. You saw him in a lot of pass protection. So he was the guy to be honest, he was probably the best pass blocker on the team in terms of running backs. I mean, this guy, you saw him, I think Pro Football Focus or somebody out there, one of those next-gen stats or something like that, I think they called him one of the best pass-blocking running backs in the league. But is that what second-round running backs are supposed to do? I mean, yeah, part of it. But second-round running backs are also supposed to be the workhorse of the team. They're the guys that are supposed to be getting most of the carries and the guys that the team, is very, very invested in. And you can't be a second-round pick and all you're good for really is pass protection. And then don't get me wrong, that's a very important part of the game, and Kerryon had the absolute right mindset to be able to be very good at that, to take on his new role in a very positive way and use that. Now, did it result in wins? No, not really, not necessarily. But at least he took that role, and he didn't sit and cry because he wasn't getting all the carries. He stepped up in a big way and was able to protect Matthew Stafford, I guess, in the backfield. But you kind of knew. And that was the whole thing with the Lions last season. They were predictable. On defense, they were predictable. On some, so when you saw that Kerryon was coming in on offense, I mean, he probably wasn't getting the carry. So it was you could kind of tell it was a pass situation. I noticed that a lot when I watched all those games last season. But yeah, Kerryon, he gave it a great effort for the Lions, but it was just not enough to stay with the team. And like I said, I think it's very obvious now that DAndre Swift is the running back for your Detroit Lions. So according to OurLads.com, one of my favorite websites, I love this because they kind of give you up-to-date, what do you call it, the depth charts? Yeah, they give you up-to-date depth charts on each team. And, all the rookies are already in there. Penei Sewell, the right tackle is supposed to be starting there. So according to OurLads.com, DAndre Swift is supposed to be the starter. I mean, I don't think that's any surprise there. Then they have Jamal Williams, the second running back, and then Jamar Jefferson, the third running back, along with Rakeem Boyd and Dedrick Mills, the rookie from Nebraska. I bet as of now, I bet the Lions go with a 4 running back room because you got to remember Jason Kabinda, the fullback. I think he's going to make the team over Nick Bawden. Nick Bawden was out pretty much all of last year with an injury. And so I think it's going to be Swift, Williams, Jefferson, and Kabinda. It's interesting, though, because Jamar Jefferson, a 7th-round pick, but a guy, we mentioned him on the podcast last week, a guy that really, he was expecting to go in the 3rd or 4th round, he said. He ended up falling to the 7th round. This is the guy that was 5th in the FBS last season in scrimmage yards per game, yards from scrimmage per game. So that means rushing and receiving yards. A guy that could be very versatile. This guy kind of reminds me a little bit of the Jason Huntley pick from last year or 2 years ago. can't remember, last year or 2 years ago, one of those years. But Jason Huntley, the 6th-round pick from New Mexico State, a guy that set school records for the Aggies in kick and punt returns, something like that. Very speedy guy, really small but shifty. But the Lions cut him, and then the Eagles picked him up. So I just hope it's not one of those situations where he doesn't even make the team. I mean, this is a guy that, he's probably the best rookie running back that the Lions have right now. I think he's better than Rakeem Boyd and Dedrick Mills. I think the Lions want to give Jamar Jefferson a chance, and Kerryon was just the odd man out. And it seems like with that cut or with that release of Kerryon, that Jamar Jefferson is the guy that they wanted at number 3. And Jamal Williams, of course, he was the backup running back, and it did start some games behind Aaron Jones in Green Bay. And it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into this Anthony Lynn offense as well. So Jamar Jefferson, though, probably the number 3 running back, a guy that the Lions have some hope for, but unfortunately Kerryon was just the odd man out. We'll see where Kerryon goes in the NFL, that is for sure. But, Kerryon joins that list of other guys, other Lions that have joined other teams. Obviously Stafford, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay. I'm sure Danny Amendola will be out pretty soon as well. So Jamal Agnew going to Jacksonville. Forget about him a lot. So we'll have to see, but I think Kerryon could be decent on another team, but his role might, have to differ as well. All right, I did want to move on to another subject, and it involves the tight end position. Big announcement from Jacksonville. Tim Tebow. He'll be 34 in August. Tim Tebow is back. How about that? He played in the 2015 preseason for the Eagles at quarterback, and that was the last we saw of Mr. Tebow. But I will say, a quick message about Tim Tebow. He actually is probably my favorite athlete ever. And, I love Matthew Stafford, Justin Verlander. Those are my 2 favorite Detroit athletes of all time. But just my favorite overall athlete was always Tim Tebow. My uncle had Florida season tickets because my aunt went to the University of Florida when Danny Warfel was winning Heisman's with Steve Spurrier and all that. So they kind of got me into Florida at a young age, and I just really liked how outspoken Tim Tebow was about his faith, and just the way he played football too. It was just different, and I really liked that about him, and I really admired that as a kid. And actually, a couple years ago, when he was playing minor league baseball with the Binghamton Rumble Ponies in the New York Mets organization, and I went down to Akron, not too far, a little less than an hour from Cleveland. I went down to the Akron Rubber Ducks when they were playing, because they're in the same league, the Eastern League, and I wanted to see Tebow play baseball. And I've just got to say, I've never seen so many people at a game, and this was a weekday game too, weekday Wednesday night, I believe. I've never seen so many people there just to see one player than I did for Tim Tebow. He had a very special presence, a unique presence about him as well. And it was just very, I've never seen anything like it with an athlete before. He was just it was just like majestic almost, seeing it. And you know what? After the game, they had to set up these fences for people, so that the team could walk through. And it's interesting too, because back then, a man by the name of Pete Alonso, who's probably the best player on the Mets right now, he was on the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, and nobody wanted his autograph. I think one person wanted his autograph that I saw. Everybody else wanted Tim Tebow's autograph. And I'm like, Pete Alonso, this guy was hitting like 432, I think. He had like 3 hits that game, 432. He's really progressing up in the system. A guy that was clear and cut, a future MLB player. And there's Tim Tebow, and everybody wants his autograph. So I was able to get his autograph, and I did get a picture with him, and it was a very unique experience, that's for sure. And my favorite athlete probably of all time, Tim Tebow. And I got to say, I know a lot of people out there think, oh, it's a joke. And oh my gosh, I heard this when I was in middle school about Tim Tebow, how it's a big joke that he's in the NFL and all that. I don't care about that. I don't care. Look, did Urban Meyer, do you think was that a big reason why, he got signed by the Jags? His hometown is Jacksonville. You think that all played a role? It probably did. Not going to lie. Urban Meyer, this is his first season coaching in the NFL. Does he want a guy that maybe knows his culture, knows his system around to teach these NFL guys, a guy that's been in the NFL before? Probably. But, he's not a quarterback. He's going to be a tight end. And a lot of people question, will he be, a tight end? It's a joke. He's never played tight end. I know he's never played tight end, but he has had reps at tight end in practices before. Not that it means much because they haven't really been in games. But I'm not. What I'm saying is that it's not like he's going in completely blind because he has gotten, some practice at tight end before. But it's going to be interesting. And I did want to relate this back because tight end was one of a need, I guess, for the Lions a little bit because Josh Hill, who was signed from New Orleans to be the backup tight end for T.J. Hawkinson, because Jesse James was released, Josh Hill decided to retire. So the Lions were kind of in need of a number 2 tight end, and that's why I kind of thought, well, would Tebow have been a good fit? But they ended up signing Darren Fells, who was actually on the team just a few seasons ago, so a veteran in the NFL. But would Tebow have fit the Lions? I mean, I'm kind of laughing as saying this, but it would have been interesting to see Tim Tebow in a Lions uniform if we needed him at tight end. Guy, he's never caught a pass in the NFL before. To be honest, he'd probably be used more for blocking. I don't know how much Tim Tebow could go out and run routes. But, hey, at number 2, I mean, he has a solid, he has, it's not like he's like a twig out there. I mean, he has some beef to him. I mean, he's like 6'4", 6'5", almost 250 or something like that now. I mean, this guy isn't a twig out there. He was a bigger quarterback. So they would, he definitely had some meat on his bones, I guess, if you will, if you know what I'm saying. So, and, obviously put him in an NFL strength program, he can get stronger. And this, I'm sure he works out a lot as well with baseball and all that. It would have been interesting to see how he would have adjusted and, being like a guy that maybe could have been a number 2 tight end for the Lions. That would have been interesting. According to our lads, there is a rookie, cannot remember his name, but there is a rookie for the Jaguars, a 5th-round pick that was supposed to be slated in the starting spot in Jacksonville. And interesting, too, hey, if anything ever happens to Trevor Lawrence or Gardner Minshew, you could see Tebow get a quarterback number and go in. Oh, man, that'd be interesting. If something happened to those two guys, seeing Tim Tebow out there, saving the day again like he did in Denver. Oh, that'd be a story. That's right out of a Hollywood script right there, if that happened. Ooh, that'd be interesting. Just one of my favorite athletes of all time, Tim Tebow, signing. But it would have been, like I said, it would have been interesting to see if he would have been in a Lions uniform, how that would have gone. All right, my final piece of topic, I guess, if you will, for this podcast. So number 12 in Green Bay looks like he's out. Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. There's rumors that he might go to Denver, among other places. Whoa, wouldn't that be interesting if he went to Denver? Pulling 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks within a decade. Look at Peyton Manning. He went there, won him a Super Bowl, and put up some really good offense. Perhaps the greatest offensive season a quarterback's ever had in 2013. Rodgers, I bet he would ignite some juice in Denver. I mean, you think about that division too. Patrick Mahomes, a young Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers in the AFC West. Ooh, man, that would be interesting if he went to Denver. But he's officially out, and Devontae Adams might follow suit. This is going to be a very, very different Green Bay Packer team, and it makes me think, how does this affect the NFC North? So let's look at these other teams. Obviously, the Lions, could you call it a rebuild mode? Yeah, I mean, you do have a bridge quarterback in Jared Goff, which a lot of people think the Lions are going to be really, really bad. I am one of those guys that, I'm realistic, maybe, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not calling playoffs. I'm just saying, I don't know if the Lions are going to be as bad as some people think. This is not a brand new rookie quarterback or a very unproven guy in Jared Goff. No. This guy, he's made Pro Bowls. He's made a Super Bowl. This isn't some random guy off the street that's asked to lead the Lions. Now, I know after 12 years of Matthew Stafford, a lot of things are going to be different. I understand. It may take a little bit to transition, but I don't think it's going to be like horrible. So the Lions might do better than you think, especially if Aaron Rodgers is out of the division. Then you look at the Packers. I mean, Jordan Love, it looks like it's Jordan Love time. I mean, it was a similar situation with Brett Favre, well, except Aaron Rodgers is announcing his retirement. But, you know, when the Packers didn't want him back, he wanted out of Green Bay. Then it was Aaron Rodgers' time. Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. Maybe it's Jordan Love's time. We're going to have to see how Matt LaFleur works with Jordan Love. That's going to be a big storyline, I think, for this season. They were Jordan Love was drafted to replace Aaron Rodgers, similarly to how Rodgers was drafted to replace Brett Favre. Two legends right there, two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Very different team, but I mean the coaching staff over there, Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator, Matt LaFleur, head coach, Mike Pettine, the D coordinator. Packers might be all right. It's gonna be different for sure. So I guess, I mean, you look at the Bears. I mean, teams made the playoffs two of the last 3 years. Justin Fields, new quarterback, replacing Mitchell Trubisky, who's off to Buffalo. There might be some growing pains there. Now the Bears, yeah, they got to start over. Brand new quarterback. Lions, it's a new quarterback for the team, but this is a guy that's an NFL veteran. I mean, he's going to be in his 6th year. Fields in his 1st. Plus, everybody knows the curse of the Ohio State quarterback, I guess. But no, I don't want to mention that. That's not fair to Justin Fields. And then the last but not least, there's Minnesota. I mean, I guess Minnesota would be maybe the favorite to win the NFC North because, you know, a rising receiver in Justin Jefferson. You already have Adam Thielen. You know, obviously everybody knows about Kirk Cousins. Very average. Some compare his career to Matthew Stafford. The Viking defense is not terrible. You know, they can get after the quarterback. So maybe the Vikings win the division. But my whole point is that I think the division is going to be more open than, you know, some people might think. You know, some people, the Vikings are going to be the favorites. I was actually talking about a friend of mine about all this. He's saying the Vikings are probably going to win the division. I don't want to be that guy that thinks the Lions are going to make the playoffs and all that. Year one of Dan Campbell. I mean, at this point, I don't think they are. However, it might be a little closer than some people think. A little bit less of a margin than the common folk might think. Because Aaron Rodgers leaving, it's all going to depend on how good Jordan Love is. If Jordan Love is the real deal, then I could see, you know, Green Bay making some noise. If not, if there's growing pains, which I feel like there will be, some growing pains, then the Vikings. Because I don't see the Bears. I know the Bears have made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. Their defense is solid. Obviously, everybody knows about Khalil Mack. Then they have one of the best secondaries in the NFL as well, Eddie Jackson, among others. But it does. I don't know. I still see Justin Fields struggling in the Windy City. Jared Goff, at least he's a veteran. At least he's had experience guiding the ship before for a Super Bowl team in L.A. It's all going to depend. Anthony Lynn, I think he's going to be the X factor this season. How will Anthony Lynn's offense? How are they going to use DeAndre Swift? How are they going to use some of these new targets? Tyrell Williams, Brashad Perriman, Khalif Raymond, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Are they going to work him in? It's going to really depend on this offense. Defense, obviously we know the defense was historically bad last season. But I really want to see if the offense at least is taking some strides with all kinds of newcomers. Definitely want to see that. All right, before we close out, just want to mention really fast, the schedule will come out tomorrow on Wednesday, officially all the days, but we do know the opponents. We do know Week 17, they will be playing in Denver. So the other opponents, I mean, obviously you have Green Bay, Minnesota, Chicago twice, both home and away. At Atlanta, so with the Falcons in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Arizona at Ford Field, San Francisco at Ford Field, Baltimore at Ford Field, Cincinnati at Ford Field, Philadelphia at Ford Field, LA, the Rams at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, at Pittsburgh, at Seattle, and at Cleveland. I'm looking forward to that game. I'm hoping I can get tickets for Browns. Browns-Lions. I always like to mess around with all my friends about the Cleveland Browns and how the Lions are better than the Browns. It's always a big debate with some of my friends. But it's going to be interesting to see. The NFL this year, they're making a big production out of the schedule. Usually it's just, they release it online and everybody takes a look at it, but they're making a big deal about the whole TV show. And the NFL, they love to make a big production out of a lot of things. I mean, they've made it with the draft, the combine, the Senior Bowl, now the NFL schedule. So just everything's a big production, that is for sure. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see where the Lions work out with the scheduling. Anything friendly scheduling with the Lions would be very helpful. But we'll have to see. It's gonna be exciting. I'm really looking forward to this Lions season as always. But make sure to check out all the other awesome content on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. There's the Doc and Jock podcast, the Wrestling podcast, the Michigan podcast, the Gambling podcast, all kinds of different podcasts. And what I love about it too is you can find your niche. Some guys are really into wrestling. Some guys are really into gambling. You can find whatever you like, and we have it for you on the network. And the Practice Squad podcast with Adam, and he talks a lot about his really funny stories and crazy stories and memories and all that. So it's a great podcast network, and it's been awesome. This is episode number 45, and it's been great to be a part of. Almost a year that I've been doing this, and a lot of great guests and all that over the years. So it's been fun. But thank you again, folks, for tuning in, and make sure to tune in next week only on Open Mic Night.